Hey, we're incredibly excited to be here and chat a little bit about Sweetwater and give an intro to who we are. Hopefully if our sales team and our marketing team is doing their job appropriately, Sweetwater is a household name to each and every one of you audio enthusiasts and folks who are incredibly passionate about music technology like we are over here at Sweetwater. So what I'd like to do is just give a little bit of a company intro. Maybe this is a refresher to some of you, and for others, this is potentially, especially the folks worldwide, this might be the first time that you've heard of us. But company intro: Sweetwater Sound here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. In 1979, we started as a mobile recording studio. A guy by the name of Chuck Surak, who's still 100% owner, founder, and CEO of Sweetwater, started as a mobile recording studio in 1979. What he was doing is he was driving around in his VW microbus, and he was schlepping around a bunch of gear, a bunch of mic cables, and he was recording anyone and everyone who had any interest in live recording, mostly live recording of bands, but also if someone at a Boy Scout convention needed their speech recorded or anything like that, he was basically for hire as a mobile recording studio. He became the go-to guy regionally in our area within the Northeast Indiana, Northwest Ohio area to go to for any type of recording, and he upgraded from the mobile recording studio to a home studio. In the 80s is really when the magic of Sweetwater happened, because Chuck was an audio engineer. He was a brilliant computer programmer, and he was a traveling musician prior to his audio engineering career. And what he did is he got a hold of this incredible piece of gear, the Kurzweil K250, which was one of the first synthesizers of its time that was actually utilizing virtual sampling. And what he did is he learned it backwards and forwards and re-engineered it to the point where he started recording his own virtual samples for the Kurzweil K250 and was re-engineering it with a library of sounds. So what he did is he started taking out ads in the music magazines at the time saying free samples for the Kurzweil K250, willing to trade. And he started fielding calls from people like Dolly Parton and Stevie Wonder and Willie Nelson and a lot of people in the industry to ask him if they could fly him out to load his samples on their Kurzweil K250. What happened is Kurzweil saw him as an individual who knew their K250 better than anyone else in the nation, and he created a relationship with him where he was able to sell the piece of gear as a preferred retailer. So fast forward, he utilizes his relationship and leveraged that with Kurzweil, with other industry manufacturers at the time, and started to bring on a lot of pro audio and other gear onto the retail side of things. And in the early 90s, he started staffing up a team of what we call sales engineers, which are absolute experts within the industry of music technology. And basically at that time, they were just opening up a phone book and dialing down and cold calling individuals to see if anyone was interested in pro audio gear or music instruments. At that time, we were 100% phone. And then we also had our now famous Pro Gear catalog that a lot of people were doing their sales through. In the mid 90s, Chuck got onto this crazy thing called the World Wide Web and started a web page. And at that point, it was a knowledge base. He wanted to utilize it to inform all of his friends or customers as to the latest and greatest gear in music technology. So he was creating all these web pages and product pages specifically to give information and knowledge to individuals so that they had enough information to make great buying decisions. And fast forward into the early 2000s is when we actually started selling on the website. So that is truly the quick SparkNotes version. If you fast forward to where we are today, we're the US's #1 online retailer of pro audio gear and music instruments. We're #2 overall in the music industry for retail sales. Our Our arch nemesis would be Guitar Center, and our model is quite a bit different than Guitar Center. So Guitar Center, as most of you know it, is a brick and mortar retail model. What's different about us is we have at this point about 500 of those sales engineers that I talked about that are still phone-based, email, connecting with individuals through social media channels in any way that they can to connect with our customers, build quality relationships, and be really a white glove concierge level service to anyone who has needs from a musical standpoint. So really connecting, building relationships, and helping folks, what we say, fulfill their musical dreams. So that's a quick intro of Sweetwater and kind of who we are within the industry. What I'd like to do is kind of introduce the team that's on the call today, let them tell a little bit about their story and the role that they're in, and then we can go ahead and hopefully move into a really great Q&A session. So first and foremost, my name is Jordan Applegate. I'm the Director of Recruiting here at Sweetwater. I've been here for 6 years now, and over a decade in recruiting and human resources. I'm a native of Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is Sweetwater's hometown. And I've known Chuck, our owner, for quite some time. When I was 15 years old, I joined a world-renowned youth choir called the Voices of Unity Choir, and Chuck is a hands-on supporter of that group. And I was able to see him, in the early 2000s when Sweetwater was exploding in growth, and see the growth that the company has had since. And it's just been an amazing story. And as a teenager in that choir, I knew as an adult I wanted to work for Chuck and Sweetwater. Just so humble and grateful and thankful to have the opportunity to be on the team. And I help lead the strategy of recruiting across the board. And I focus a lot of my effort on management level positions, and then also our marketing department. So digital marketing, creative marketing, and a handful of other areas within our company from a recruiting standpoint. So I am a musician myself, primarily a vocalist. I play a little bit of guitar, a little bit of keyboards, but to be honest, I feel way more comfortable with just the microphone in my hand than I would performing live, having to play an instrument. But have traveled all over the world with that choir that I talked about, competed in World Choir Games and brought back gold medals. Really proud to say that I'm a part of that organization and an alumni of that choir. And I will go ahead and turn it over to Cassie to give us a little bit of insight on who she is in her role at Sweetwater.
Hey guys, I'm Cassie O'Hanlon. I'm a sales engineer here at Sweetwater. I'm really excited to get a chance to talk to you guys about what I do. I am the main point of contact between customers, two customers here at Sweetwater Sound. So my job ultimately is to connect one-on-one and get to know my customers, know what they're after, know what they're looking for and looking to do musically in their lives. And then that way I can make great recommendations for gear and to get their studio, get their, live career on track. So it's really rewarding. It's a lot of fun. I get to know a lot of people from all over the country. And I think that it's just been a great experience here. And, I ultimately didn't see myself in retail, but I think that it's one of the best things that I could have done. So I started very young. I started playing guitar when I was 5. I took lessons and ultimately started playing flute in middle school band, and that fell right in love with it. That ended up being my primary instrument. I went to the South Carolina Governor's School for Arts and Humanities, where I studied classical flute and finished my high school career. I studied music education for a while, but ultimately decided that teaching wasn't for me. And since I had been involved in live sound and recording for a few years, I started running sound and helping my dad record his band when I was about 13. I decided to move into production. I earned my degree from Full Sail University in music production, and I opened a mobile studio, very similar to what Chuck was doing, oddly enough, back in the 80s, where I was, lugging around a bunch of gear and, recording live shows, recording EPs, all over the North Carolina state area. after that, I applied at Sweetwater for the studio internship. But the recruiter that I spoke with felt like I would be a good fit to be a sales engineer, so asked me to apply for that instead. Since then, I've been there for about 4 years now, 3.5 in the sales engineer role. And I love it. I love working with people. I love getting to make recommendations on gear, getting to talk to the manufacturers all the time, you know, continuing my recording career as well. You know, it's just been a great experience. So yeah, that's about it. So I think I'll pass it on.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Cassie. Next up, and we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into kind of the sales engineer role and some of the cool things about being able to get hands-on with gear, connecting with vendors, something that all of you guys would probably be excited about. You know, the ability in that role to get spiffs or free gear all the time. All that stuff is super cool, and we'll let Cassie talk about it in a little bit. But here up next is Rachel Ritchie. Rachel?
You guys can't hear me. Now you can hear me.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Hey guys. Again, my name is Rachel. I am originally from Southern California, out of Oxnard, California, which is actually the hometown of DW Drums for any of you drummers out there. I moved to Indiana 3 years ago, moved to Indianapolis, then made my way up to Fort Wayne to join Sweetwater. Before I moved out here, I actually spent 4 years in talent acquisition for another music retail company based out of Los Angeles. And there was, hiring different store managers and very similar backgrounds to the sales engineers that we hire here. Started there in human resources. So I've been in human resources, specifically in talent acquisition for about 7 years now. I am also a vocalist, so I had sang in a whole bunch of bands back home in LA, and then out here, I joined a band out here and started singing with them as well. So I would say that's my primary instrument. I do play guitar as well, but my hands sometimes can't do all the things to make the guitar sound nice. So, and then growing up, I was in a bunch of different little choirs, took a lot of vocal classes in college. So yeah, really excited to join you guys today and then talk a little bit more about opportunities at Sweetwater.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Let's move along. We'll hear more from Rachel here shortly too, but let's move along to Claire Beutel, who's fairly new to the team, but we're super pumped to have her. She has such a cool story and is doing just a phenomenal job for us within our digital marketing team.
All right, perfect. Hey, everybody. Thank you, Jordan, for the introduction. My name's Claire, and right now I do search engine optimization with Sweetwater, also called SEO, and that's basically just the practice of increasing both the quantity and the quality of traffic to a website within the organic search results. Because if you do a Google search on, say, guitar, the first 3 or 4 things you see are going to be ads, and then everything underneath that is the organic search results. So there are various things you can do to a website to improve your chances of showing up on page 1, to get those clicks, to get those sales. So that's what I specialize in. But the journey to digital marketing has been a long, winding road for me. I started playing guitar at 15. I went to Columbia College Chicago and studied music performance, production, and business because I was a songwriter, and I just thought, having a nice, well-rounded education in different facets of the music industry would be really good. I interned at Aware Records. They're a really big management company. And I interned at a couple recording studios as well. Yeah, Columbia Chi-Town. So after college, I moved to Nashville, tried to pursue the singer-songwriter thing, and kind of fell into website building and design as somewhat of a necessity, because as a poor musician, I didn't have $2,000 to shell out for someone to make me a site. So I just started learning how to build websites and got into design. And from there, I kind of pivoted into the marketing side of things. So after about 4 years in Nashville, I moved back to Chicago, where I'm originally from, and I started working for different companies and marketing agencies, specifically SEO and content. And when I discovered there was an open opportunity with Sweetwater, it was like a no-brainer. It was like, man, how I can marry my two passions, which is amazing. So like Jordan said, I haven't been with the company super long, I think a little over 4 months now, but it's been just really great to be surrounded by music enthusiasts because I'm a huge one myself, and then also getting to pursue my passion for SEO and marketing. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about that more in just a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks, Claire. So as we kind of move through to just pull the curtain back a little bit on career opportunities at Sweetwater, what I think is appropriate, especially in some of these areas with the experts on the call with us, is to allow them the opportunity to really talk a little bit more about that role. So what I'd like is Cassie to talk a little bit more about the day. A day in the life. She hit a little bit on her role and how she's the first point of contact for customers and building those relationships. But Cassie, if you would, can you even maybe go a step backwards and talk to us a little bit about, when you came onto the team, the concept of Sweetwater University and how that got you spun up into being in a position that was set up for success in your sales role?
Absolutely. So Sweetwater University is 3 months of hardcore audio training, training with manufacturers. So we had a Fender day, we had a Gibson day for guitars, we had Apogee, Apollo, Pro Tools day, where all of these manufacturers came in and talked to us and trained us intensely on all of their gear and the fundamentals deeper than that. So it's not just, let me teach you about this gear. It's, let's teach you the very, very basics of audio. It's essentially like getting a master's degree in 3 months. It's a lot, but extremely rewarding. So not only do I have that basis from my bachelor's degree, but then went on top of that and got a really deep dive into everything that makes the gear what it is, which I think is really important. Not only that, but we get classes on, sales and, talking about ourselves and how to work with customers, conflict resolution, things like that. All the things that go into customer service and, selling and making sure that you're doing a great job at ultimately what you're hired to do. So like I said, it's 3 months of very intense classes every day and then tests every week, and you really have to be on your game. But ultimately, without that knowledge, I think that definitely set me up to be able to actually have these very real and in-depth conversations with people and be able to explain to people not just, this is a great audio interface, but this is why this is a great audio interface, or, this is why this is the best thing for your setup, not just, this is what I think is good. So I think that's really important. As far as Sweetwater University is concerned, that's your first 3 months of working there. And then, of course, you roll out, you start talking to people on the phones and being able to have those conversations. Like I said, without that background, I think that it would be a lot harder. But it is very intense and a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, great. Hey, Rachel, can you talk a little bit? So Rachel is our talent acquisition specialist, specifically over sales engineer. Can you talk a little bit about maybe it looks like we're coming up on 20 minutes, but can you talk a little bit about the interview process, kind of what we're looking for all the way through the selection process for the sales engineer?
Yeah, absolutely. So the application process is pretty simple, straightforward. Just hop into our website. You'll see the sales engineer posting, which has a ton of details, a really cool video you can check out about the position. And from there, it would be a first touch conversation with me where I get to know a little bit about you, a little bit more about your, music background, your pro audio background, and talk a little bit more about the sales engineer role kind of in depth. And we get really detailed. I like to hear a little bit more about your home studio, what you do, as far as your musical aspirations are, or your, audio engineering kind of projects that you work on. Education, really love to hear a lot about that, internships. And then we have a pretty good in-depth conversation about that and what to expect as a sales engineer. From there, what we typically do, which I think is a little bit different from some companies, we'll actually fly you out here to our campus here in Fort Wayne. You'll get to hang out with us for 3 nights, 4 days. Fly you in the day before. The next day is your full interview. So during the full interview process consists of there's a couple of tests that we will do. So we do actually sit you down and get to know a little bit more about what your technical background really is. And then you get a tour of the building, check everything out. Our studio, our store, the full campus itself, which is open to the public. So it's kind of cool to experience that here as well. You'll actually get to sit down and listen in with the sales engineer. You'll put a headset on, the sales engineer will go through their phone calls, and you'll get a chance to really see yourself in those shoes and hear the conversations that they have with customers. And then we get to meet with our Chief Sales Officer, Jeff Radke, myself, and then typically our SVP of HR will join us, or our SVP of Sales will join us as well. We'll have lunch and get to know you there as well. And then talk a little bit about Fort Wayne. Places to live. A lot, I would say good, I don't know what the percentage is, but a big chunk of our team is not from Fort Wayne, myself included. So we'll talk a little bit about Fort Wayne, what to expect, and then we'll give you an extra day in Fort Wayne to kind of check out the city, give you some ideas of where to check out, some live music or places to live and all that kind of good stuff there. And then from there, we fly you back home. So we want to get you immersed into Sweetwater as an organization and our building and our campus and all the folks that work here, and then kind of immerse you in the Fort Wayne experience as well. So that's the big kind of interview process there. Then from there, we make the decision. We will cover relocation. We'll talk about that, get you onboarded, and then get you in the building for your first day for Sweetwater University.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Really quickly to kind of go down the rest of this list. Product support specialist. If sales is for some reason or another not your cup of tea, the product support specialist is the back end of that. So once you guys buy gear from us, a lot of you on this probably bought gear from us and had questions about that gear. We give lifetime support. So we have a team of about 35 to 40 individuals that are just supporting our customers to make sure that they have the proper gear, they know how to work it, and if there's any issues that they can jump in and solve any of those issues for us. Real quickly, and then we can probably fast forward to the Q&A. Claire, do you want to kind of give a little bit of a overview of the landscape of marketing, where your role fits in, and then kind of the different areas that you interact with, just to give some of these folks some insight on how large our marketing team is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the marketing team is surprisingly large to me. I believe it's around 100 people, maybe a little bit more. So we've got, a lot of people pushing the Sweetwater website, promoting certain things on a daily basis. On a day-to-day, I work with developers, content writers, social media calendar experts, just because, in the game of digital marketing, it's really important for all of your pieces to be aligned. So for example, if we're putting out a blog series on the best guitar amps, it would be very beneficial for us to join our efforts in, social media, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. How many blog posts are we churning out over that particular topic? What kind of products do we want to promote within that post? So there are a lot of different pieces that go into pretty much every marketing facet that Sweetwater has. And there's just like a lot of collaboration too, which is really fun. Like you never really feel like you're working alone. And for me, it's really helpful to have people that are super knowledgeable on gear. Because while I have a huge passion for music, I've never been able to get myself to be like a gearhead. So I've been able to just learn a ton, you know, from research and asking questions to people around me. So it's just a really fun learning environment with a lot of people working together. So it's a huge team effort.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. I see the chat box going crazy with some questions. I know Terry's going to jump in and moderate some of this. Terry, just make sure if anyone asks about our campus, I definitely want to have the chance to talk a little bit about our campus. We're certainly proud of it. So make sure you ask us about that.
Well, I think these are some quick questions we can run through. Somebody was asking if the training, the Sweetwater University training is for everybody or just certain positions.
So Sweetwater University training is parts of it are for everyone. It's really important for us from a culture standpoint for regardless of the position that you come in, for you to be immersed in the Sweetwater culture. So there's a handful of classes that everyone all the way up to Chuck, our owner, teach to kind of give you the history. And then there's cultural classes around, you know, our customer experience, director of customer experience teaches a class about how to wow the customer. And regardless if you have face-to-face or, you know, phone interaction with our customer, you're going to go through that class. And then, so 3 different buckets, kind of the cultural classes, the music technology, under the hood, getting hands-on with the gear, and then there's some life skills classes as well. So depending on your position, you could get all of it, or you could get sprinkled into a handful of those culture and life skill classes.
Great. So this other question is COVID-19 related. Are sales engineers working from home? Is there ongoing remote work possible after COVID? So are you considering that after the fact as well?
So sales engineers currently, depending on, so they've been home for about the last 6 weeks. And depending on their comfort, they're sprinkling back in. So we have about 100 sales engineers out of the 500 that are back on site. And I will tell you that we're being very cognizant and mindful of the national, the state level and local experts in health on COVID-19, on when to roll out getting individuals back on campus. And the health and well-being of our team is of utmost priority for us. So the reality is, I think that we're going to offer the work from home options for probably another few weeks or so. But the reality is, at some point, the expectation will be that everyone would need to be back on campus. With that being said, we don't currently, nor do I see the likelihood in the future of us offering 100% remote positions. One of those reasons is just because of the nature of the position, the ongoing training that happens on our campus on a regular basis. Sales engineers are going through 2, some weeks upwards of 5 different hands-on training experiences that happen here on our campus with our preferred vendors. And a lot of that magic that we believe Sweetwater is just happens by being immersed in the culture here.
Awesome, thank you. Do you have to have extensive musical background to become a sales engineer? And then there was another, I'm going to roll in another question. What are you typically looking for? What type of experience are you looking for to become a sales engineer?
Rachel, you want to answer that?
Yeah. So I guess the short answer is we would really definitely would like to see super heavy background in pro audio. That is kind of our largest category as far as like what we sell. So I talked about the tech test. There is a 160 question technical test that all of our candidates will come in and take, and it's very heavy on the pro audio knowledge. Some musical instrument questions in there as well. So having that background is definitely ideal for a product support specialist, which is a tech support role, and the sales engineer position. So those 2 roles have very similar background experiences. We have varying levels. We have people who've come right out of Full Sail, like Cassie has, or Kraz, or some of the other music tech schools, or some people who have kind of learned it on their own, started their own home studio, and that sort of thing. So we definitely would like to see kind of that strong pro audio background and knowledge coming into a sales engineer position. And I think that's something that, like I said, we'll look for in those two kind of particular positions. Trying to think if there's anything else I could share about that as well. Some of the stuff like through Sweetwater University, like you're not gonna know everything about everything, right? So through Sweetwater University, you know, they'll touch on things like Dante certification and Pro Tools and things like that as well. And fill in some of those gaps. There's classes on guitars and the guitars that we carry and things like that. And drums will come in. The really fun thing about Sweetwater University is some of the vendors and manufacturers that we work with will actually teach some classes as well. So while you don't need to know everything, we do like to see a very good core knowledge of the pro audio. And then some of the stuff that maybe you're not so sharp on, you'll probably get those gaps filled in through Sweetwater University. Hope that answers the question.
That's great. Thank you. There's a bunch of questions about internships. What would be the requirements for an internship, and is it paid? Will relocation be compensated?
Sure. Qualifications for internships is that you are a current college student. We do like to specifically, you know, award those internships to folks that are in college. It doesn't necessarily have to be specific to your degree program, although, you know, we would anticipate, you know, the better candidates for Sweetwater Studios internship would be someone that's in a music technology or audio production or engineering degree program. But this year we have over 30 interns that are coming for our immersive summer internship program, which is now because of COVID, a 12-week internship. Typically it's a 16-week internship, full-time, 40 hours a week. We truly do immerse you into the Sweetwater culture and expect the same thing out of you as an intern that we would a normal full-time employee. And what I mean by that is, like, you're in our studio, you're not going to get coffee. Cassie could speak more to the studio internship if someone wants to hear a little bit more about that. But we're giving you actual work that's going to be meaningful. You know, our marketing interns, a lot of their work is published on our website, and their designs are utilized in across the campus in a lot of capacities. So yes, it is paid. We for internship positions will not pay for relocation. It's a paid internship. We have discounted housing here local to Fort Wayne, and we're happy to get you hooked up and set up with that. But we're not going to pay for the relocation for you to get here.
Awesome. Thank you. Quick question. Do you hire folks from outside the country?
Yeah, so we actually, I'd have to check the most recent stats, but we have a handful of international individuals. I think I saw that coming from the individual who's in Greece. Yasu, to you. Hello, how are you? I think that I definitely want to note that we're absolutely open to international candidates, especially in sales positions. We think that that's super cool. We will not, currently, we're not in a position where we are willing to sponsor the visa. So if it's an investment on your end where you're totally serious about this and you want to sponsor your own visa, we'd be happy to chat.
Great. This we have to answer quickly too. And then I also want you to talk about the campus because it is super awesome. How do folks stay creative in a sales retail position at Sweetwater?
Go ahead, Cassie.
Hey, so that can be kind of tricky. It really is about, because, you know, as you know, with any kind of job that you work, some days you're just not, you're going to come home and you're just not going to want to have anything to do with your gear. You know, I'm done talking about it, done doing anything with it for today. But really for me, it's just been about consciously, you know, coming home and making sure that I spend some time, you know, either recording or mixing or playing my instrument, and making sure that I actually dedicate that time to myself. You know, there is all kinds of creativity flying around Sweetwater all the time. There's all kinds of ways to be inspired. So, you know, taking those moments and taking the time that you talk to your customers and the things that they're doing to inspire you is really important, and not just kind of letting it go by, but really, really scheduling out that time and, you know, making sure that you're continuing to be active is really the best advice that I could give to anybody who's going to be, you know, who wants to be a sales engineer and who wants to continue to be creative and, you know, work on their craft.
Great. Jordan, can you talk about the campus in 1 minute?
Yeah, I can try. Quick overview. We have now, we just opened a brand new distribution center. So in total on our campus, we have just under 1 million square foot of what we believe is truly state-of-the-art campus here. Think Google or Disneyland for musicians, and that's what you'll find here at Sweetwater. So we have a performance theater. We have a live acoustic stage that's connected to our diner, that there's live music quite literally around every corner every single day. It's amazing. We have an arcade and game area, a salon and spa. We have a gym with a free personal trainer for anyone who has health goals that wants to connect with a personal trainer. It's absolutely free to you and your significant others. We have a free on-site medical clinic with a registered physician and a registered nurse that's free regardless of your insurance plan for you, your family, and immediate family. We have a coffee and espresso bar. We have a full restaurant here on campus. And then on top of all that amazing stuff, we also, for the musicians and audio enthusiasts, we also own a sister company here local. It's called the Clyde Theater. It's a GA capacity music venue that Chuck opened up, about a $10 million investment, state-of-the-art sound, 2,200 capacity individuals, national shows coming in on a regular basis as soon as COVID-19 releases and lets us get back to our normal scheduled events. And then a restaurant and bar that's also a small venue for a lot of the local musicians. So quite literally at Sweetwater, and then because of the 2,000 plus employees that are crazy passionate about music and our musicians themselves, Fort Wayne is absolutely electric with live music and music going on all over the place. And we're just super excited to be a part of that here at the Sweetwater team.
Thank you. And I want to thank all of you at Sweetwater. And they are so awesome that you guys were putting a link in the chat for $20 off at Sweetwater. So check that out. I think you have to fill out a little form there, but that's, hey, especially if you're in the market for some gear right now.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much. It was super informative. Really appreciate you all. And I'm hoping I get back to Gear Fest at some point and soon. I know that's a dream right now, but looking forward to it. So if you all give them a round of applause, I think that would be a very good gesture, don't you think? A lot of thank yous. So thank you all. We are now going to shift over to, bye Rachel, bye Jordan. Where's the rest of you? I can't find the Sweetwater folks. Cassie, Claire, thank you. We're moving on to iZotope, our other wonderful friends at iZotope who we adore. And P.S., if you wait till the end, we're doing an awesome, iZotope's doing an awesome giveaway for you all. If you fill out the survey form, you have a chance to win RX Standard, which is the $399 value, or Ozone 9 Standard, which is $249 value. And then everybody that fills out that form gets a discount code for iZotope Elements, which is only $29 with a discount code, and it's usually $199. So that's an awesome deal. So stick around to the end for that and fill out that survey form to get entered into that giveaway. But now we are going to shift over to iZotope. Hopefully you all know the wonderful plugins that they make, and you are actually going to witness some of the folks that create those. So Lisa Ferrante-Walsh is the Director of Engineering, Emma Azelborn is the software developer, and Rachel Alix is a sound designer. They're all amazing. So I'm going to turn it over to them without further ado. Let's have fun with this one.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Lisa. Let me try sharing first. Just bear with me for a minute, please. So hopefully, let me go into presentation mode. Okay, can everybody see my screen? I hope we're good. Awesome. So we're huge fans of WHAM and the mission of WHAM, and are really honored to be invited to participate. Also to share the stage with Sweetwater. Sweetwater is one of our longtime business partners. And I have to say, after hearing that, if I wasn't working for iZotope, I might want to apply for a job at Sweetwater. So let me just move my little window so I can see my own slides. So iZotope makes products. We are a product development company. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about who we are, and I have a couple slides that I'll click through. And then we're going to rotate between Emma and Rachel and myself, and we're going to kind of multiplex talking about who we are and our journeys, and then a little bit about some of the roles that are available at iZotope to demystify them. I love this quote. I think it just kind of summarizes it in 7 words. You know, this is our goal. It's to, for all of you to find that shortest path to get from sound to emotion. Oh, I have to change my slide. There we go. So first a little bit about who we are, how long we've been around, et cetera. At this point, we're a little north of 175 employees. And we're headquartered in Cambridge, Mass, just down the street from MIT. It's in the Kendall Square area. And we have a pretty cool facility, probably a little smaller than Sweetwater's, but right in the heart of Kendall Square, surrounded by all kinds of restaurants and stuff. We have a recording studio in the building, which is really fun. And it's also a resource to us as employees. So we use it for work, but also you can use it for your private projects, which is really cool. The company was founded almost 20 years ago now by Mark Ethier, who is still our president and is still running the show. And really, truly, the culture and the vision of the company permeates all the way down through the organization from Mark. He's really an amazing guy. And that kind of the joke is that he founded the company out of his dorm room in MIT. I think he had one internship, and then he founded the company. So the iZotope's his first job and his first, job out of college. We also are growing, and we're building presence in other parts of the world. We have some offices now that are open in New York and in Germany and Berlin and in Japan. And we're going to be building out one in Los Angeles. And we have people in Los Angeles right now and also in the UK, among a few other areas in the world. So this again kind of sums up what our mission is. It's really about building innovative products that inspire and enable people to be creative, and it's around the idea of kind of removing the friction from you guys, so you can really focus on the creative part of the job and making music. Where Mark really challenges us to take risks, and instead of building kind of Me Too products where another company has come out with a product, let's also build one. He always challenges us to try to solve problems that have never been solved before, and I think that's what we're known for. So our product family, there are a few different things. So first of all, the one on the left here, this is our newest product, which hopefully is, some of you have seen. It's called Spire. And you can see it's a device. And then there's also an accompanying mobile app, which itself is a pretty functional tool, but it's also used as the controller for the device. And this is the first time we've actually built a product targeting the consumer market. It's one way to think of it is it's kind of a recording studio in a box. So it's a very, very intuitive, fun kind of industrial design, and also it has some of our high quality DSP in it. So going down this path is actually, forced us to kind of start facing things like, how do you manufacture a consumer level product? So this has been a relatively new thing for us. Spire right now is priced to be about $299 to try to really bring it in reach for people, and was kind of priced to be around the same price as a GoPro, to give you an idea. That product's been around for about 2.5 years now, but the bread and butter of our business is really the plugins, and they kind of fall into 2 categories right now: music production and audio post-production. And the 3 of us, Emma, Rachel, and myself, are really representing more that side of the business. We call it suites because it's a suite of plugins that we offer. And again, very high level, the 2 industries that we target are more the music production industry, and we have mixing and mastering products, etc., creative products, virtual instruments. And then on the post side, I mean, this a better way to think of this is kind of repair and edit. So it's a category of products that allow you to repair and fix fix audio. It's used quite a bit in the post-production world. So people who are making movies and TV shows, etc., that need to clean up audio. And there's some very kind of pointed and targeted products, but that need is also used on the music side of the house. So here's a kind of a quick view of some of our products, and maybe some of you have used either RX, Neutron, or Ozone. Those are probably the 3 most popular products right now, but you can go to our website and dig in a little bit more if you want to learn more. So what makes us different? I think these are kind of our 5 pillars of our business. We really focus on design and intuitive design, and really understanding the user and where they come from. Visualizations, immersive visualizations, you know, RX is a great example of this with the spectrogram. So you can actually kind of have a visual of your audio and go in and repair things just by kind of manipulating the visualization itself. Obviously, the quality of our DSP. We actually invest quite a bit in intelligent assistive tech, and we have a lot of machine learning that goes behind a lot of our products and algorithms. And this is one area, for example, that Emma works on. And then, of course, education. And education is definitely one of the pillars of our business. And we have quite a bit of material out there that we make available to the industry. And then finally, so this is a fun slide to show. We get quite a bit of recognition, and this is something that we're super, super proud of. Just to call out the Emmy, which is the biggest picture on this slide here. We actually won 2 Emmys for our RX product. One was for RX2 and the other was for RX7. And this was the first time, I think, in the history of the Emmys that the same product has won an Emmy multiple times. But you can see, you know, we're also recognized, and this is for Spire as well as for many of our plugins across the industry. So at this point, I'm going to cut over to Rachel, and she's going to take over, and then we'll go to Emma, and then we'll come back to me.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Rachel, and let me know when you want to move the slide.
Awesome. So I'm a sound designer at iZotope. I actually split my time between the Spire hardware sound design and Sweet's creative product sound design. When I tell people I'm a sound designer, I'm usually met with a lot of confusion and a lot of questions asking, well, what the heck do you do? It's kind of a lot of things. Our mission is that we drive the sonic vision of our products. On the hardware side, that has a lot to do with quality control, fixing issues with hardware noise, Wi-Fi noise, creating presets and effects, and processing in our iOS app. And from the Sweet side, it is a lot of collaborating with other departments to kind of drive our customers' feedback, artist preferences, and our own desires of what should be in these products. So it is very multifaceted. I actually started out at iZotope pretty quickly after college. I studied contemporary writing and production at Berkeley. For those of you who aren't familiar with that program, it's what I like to call a jack of all trades major that's very heavily grounded in like composition. But I also am a performer outside of that. My specialty, I would say, is like live music tech and live vocal production. And though I didn't really do much of that in my major, I had a very strong desire to be involved in that at some point in my career. So while I was at Berkeley, I was really lucky to be working in the Student Computers Support Center, which was essentially the same exact job as iZotope Customer Care, which is how I got my foot in the door here. Within 2 months of starting at iZotope and Customer Care, I actually got an opportunity to play for a company event in front of the whole company, and that opened up so many opportunities for me. It led to me getting complete creative control over the Vocal Synth 2 marquee video, which involved a lot of cross-departmental collaboration. That led to a collaboration with the artist Kimbra. I ended up training her on some of our plugins. We co-mixed her song, and then I was given the opportunity to art direct the video that we shot with her going over that project. And that kind of all led up to getting the sound design position, which I never really thought would be something I was interested in, but it's awesome. I love it so much. Next slide. So skills for working in sound design, especially in the context of a software company, I think the biggest one is knowledge and skills across many areas of music tech, especially because this job is so many things. You'll often honestly never be doing the same task twice. Just showing versatility and showing that you kind of have the knowledge to pick up any task you're given and do a good job at it and kind of have the confidence to drive that vision is a pretty big one. Communication skills is also really important working in sound design. Dealing with so many people across the company, trying to convince people why your point of view is the best for the customer. Forward thinking is a big one. We have research engineers and stuff, but a lot of the great ideas that get into our products were thought up in sound design, actually, and then prototyped through Ableton. One of our mottos in sound design, something we throw around all the time, is have strong beliefs loosely held. So fight to the death for something until product management tells you, no, there's no way that can go in the product, and then fight again. And project management skills really are great to have because sound design is honestly a lot like working in project management. And that's all for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. And now we're going to cut over to Emma.
Hello. My name is Emma Azelborn. I'm a DSP software developer at iZotope, and today I'll be talking a little bit about the sort of engineering R&D side of iZotope's products. So a little bit of background, I got my degrees at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. I did a double major in sound engineering through the music school and computer science engineering through the College of Engineering. From there, I went to work as a developer at Goodhertz Incorporated for a few years. They're a small plugin company based in Los Angeles. And then I moved on to iZotope, where I've been developing our plugins ever since. Next slide. So there are quite a few different roles that go into the R&D portion of iZotope. I'll talk a little bit about all of them. So first on the list, I have software developer. That's my role. We're the people who are writing the C++ code in production, implementing things that have been prototyped by other people in the company, etc. Quality assurance engineers are working hand in hand with us developers to test and validate the changes that we're making, to make sure that the new features we have are working for all situations and that we haven't accidentally broken something that used to work. Related to that, we have some test automation engineers who work on trying to automate the more repetitive tasks that our quality assurance engineers have to do, which would free the quality assurance engineers up to look into more detailed things that require a little bit more expertise. Fourth, we have a research team. Rachel referenced them briefly. This is a small team of very knowledgeable people who are working on the cutting edge of the industry to try to develop the next tech for our upcoming products. They are working in everything from machine learning to new applications of digital signal processing. And they spend some of their time working directly on products and other time researching new exciting ideas. And then finally, we also have our new Spire team, which was referenced, which has a hardware product. So there are roles specifically related to hardware and app development, things along those lines. So next slide. So depending on the role that you want, the skills that you need in specific are a little different. Across the board, an attention to detail is essential. There's always a lot of moving parts, and you want to make sure that you're getting things right as much as you can. It's very helpful, especially on the suite side, which is where my experience is, to understand the workflow to use a plugin in a major DAW. You need to be able to understand how these products are being used in order to create them. Critical listening is very important so that you can hear if what you're creating is actually working. A lot of times, especially when implementing a prototype in C++, you have to validate whether or not you're doing the same thing as the prototype was, because it was probably in a different language or on a different platform, and being able to hear when things don't sound right is really useful. All of our plugins are written in C++, so if you're interested in being a developer, you need to understand how to write C++. A lot of our prototyping, the research work that we've done, and some of our backend, like our build system, for example, is written in Python. So if you're more interested in test automation, for example, then Python and scripting is really useful. And then, as I mentioned before, if you're wanting to look at our Spire team, then mobile app development would be useful for that. I think that's it for this slide.
Okay, thank you. So, so again, my name is Lisa Ferrante-Walsh. I've been with iZotope now for a little over 4 years, and I'm the Director of Engineering for the Suite side of the business. So that means that all of the software developers and the quality assurance people on the Suite side of the business report to me, and then we have kind of an equivalent structure on the Spire side of the business. And so I'll tell you just briefly a little bit about my journey. So, you know, throughout my career, I've mostly been focused on being a software developer, and then I kind of found my way to being a manager and, you know, just generally kind of a technology leader and somebody that focuses on getting products out the door and everything tied to that. I've worked in a whole bunch of different industries. I had media there because the other probably most relevant job that I had before iZotope was that I worked for Avid. I didn't work on the audio side, so I didn't work on Pro Tools. I worked more on the video side, so I worked on Media Composer and also the broadcast news products, and I was at Avid for probably about 12.5 years. Before iZotope, that was probably my favorite job, and I think the reason is because it was focused on a creative industry. And I mean, I just remember the first time I walked in the door, and it was a relatively nondescript building. They were up in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, and I remember seeing movie posters all over the wall. And I said, okay, maybe this is the place for me. Did that for a long time and decided I wanted to do something a little different. So I worked in a variety of other industries, a little bit in healthcare insurance and energy, and storage, et cetera, a little bit of consumer experience. And then I found my way to iZotope, and I kind of felt like I was coming home again because it was, you know, kind of the sweet spot of combining technology as well as music together. And I am also a musician. I have a bachelor's degree in music. I grew up in Ohio, and I went to Bowling Green State University. I was actually a piano performance major, and I think similar to, I think it was Cassie from Sweetwater who mentioned, you know, I consider doing music education and I consider doing arts management and a few other things. But in the meantime, I was always a STEM kid, and you know, I especially loved math. And so I started taking a couple of math classes. The program at Bowling Green was actually a little more kind of conservatory based. And so it was an all-in program. And so I used my electives to kind of exercise the other side of my brain a little bit. Eventually found my way to start taking a couple programming classes. And so in the background, I did that through my entire career at Bowling Green. And it was time when I graduated to figure out what I wanted to do next and whether I wanted to go all in on music or not. And I decided just on a whim to apply to a couple graduate schools for computer science. And I got into Stony Brook, which is on Long Island in New York. And I finished an MS in computer science there, and then found my way up to Boston and got my first job. And I've been working ever since in this industry. As I was working part-time in the evenings, I actually also worked on an MBA. So I also have an MBA. So now I have that nice combination of technology, of, you know, music, and also of business, and being a manager. I mean, for me, it's kind of the sweet spot because I'm also just basically kind of fascinated by what motivates people. And when you're a leader and you're a manager, that's really what you focus most of your time on, is kind of setting up the conditions so your team can move as fast as they can and be motivated and love their jobs, et cetera. And I've quoted this before, so I'm going to say it again because I love this quote. There's the movie Hidden Figures. I'm not sure if any of you have seen it. If you haven't, I'd recommend it. And there's a quote in there where the manager in the movie was told by his boss, you have one job, and your job is to find the genius and the geniuses. So my job is just to get the right people on the team and then to set up the conditions to bring out the best in everybody. And that's the thing I probably love the most about my job, and specifically working for iZotope, because I'm surrounded by some of the best people that I've worked with in my career. And then kind of just a takeaway for me, as you've seen, I've pivoted quite a bit in my, I started out with music, and then I was more of a hands-on computer science developer, and then I went into more management, and I'm kind of focused more on the business side right now. And things change, and as they say, the only constant is change. So just kind of be a lifelong learner, and don't feel like you have to have it all figured out right now. I have a son who just graduated from college, and he's kind of going through that crisis right now of figuring out really what he wants to do with his life. And sometimes you just gotta kind of put one foot forward and take a chance, and then your life is a journey, and you'll figure out where you need to get to where you get. So we already talked a little bit about the software development, quality assurance, and sound design roles. As I mentioned, we're basically a business, we're a company, and so we have all kind of those standard roles that you would find in most companies, and Sweetwater tapped on a couple of these that focus on their side of the business. The product development side, the three other important roles are user interface design, product management, and marketing. So I'm going to spend a minute and talk about those three, and maybe talk a little bit about customer care. Again, I think one of the really unique things about iZotope is that not just the roles in gray and the roles that I just highlighted here, but almost, I would say, 80% of the company probably has some relationship with music. So either, they kind of just do it on the side for fun, they're DJs on the side, they do freelance audio production. So those are the types of people that we attract, very creative people, and people that are also focused on music. So that's true no matter where you sit in the company. So as far as just very kind of quickly, these four roles, I'm going to start by talking about product management. And what product management is they are the people who are really responsible for the direction and the vision that our products take. So how to upgrade existing products and make them better and better, how to come up with brand new ideas of new products, what new kind of parts of the industry that we want to focus on, and which personas and types of customer types do we want to focus on. So one thing you'll hear that I'll say about all four of these positions I'm going to talk about is the importance of analytical skills. And we live in such a data-driven society today, and really digging in and understanding data and being data-driven is pretty much an underlying assumption, I think, with almost any position that you would take at iZotope. And clearly with our world today, we're so data-driven. It's all about trends and kind of reading the social sentiment that's going on in the world and that kind of thing. And that really underlies a lot of these positions. That's definitely true about the product position. You have to be tuned into kind of what are the trends in the industry, what's the competition doing, on really kind of putting on your user hat and trying to look at at our products and our industry through kind of the user perspective. Be a very strategic thinker, and you work side by side with the product development team, so the developers and the QA and the sound designers and the user interface designers, to really kind of help realize what that vision is. So this is probably one of the most important positions at the company. Design, in this case, I mean user interface design, and there's a field called human factors, which is kind of the combination of technology and also psychology, and this is kind of studying the science of how people interact with computers and with user interfaces of products, whether they be software or hardware products. So that's one of the basic skill sets here, is really just kind of understanding how to build products that have very intuitive user interfaces. Another skill set in this domain is graphics and visual design. So this is really more the art side of it. So how do you make something look really beautiful and really engaging? And then again, there it is again, user research and analysis, those analytical skills. You want to kind of gather a lot of data by testing ideas that we have with customers and really kind of understanding what their pain points are and then how to turn them into solutions in our products. Marketing. Again, marketing really, it depends. There are different roles in marketing, but a lot of it expects knowledge of the music industry and, really being kind of tapped into what's happening with our competitors. There it is again, data-driven and analytical, being able to really kind of look at the data. You want to be able to tap your intuition also if you're in this industry, but, you have to have that balance of looking at the data and tapping into the intuition. And then in this world, marketing is all about reach and social media and, writing content that is engaging to people and how to kind of pick up on the organic nature of how to communicate and reach people. It's also about things like how to price your products and stuff like that. And then finally, the last one is customer care. And Rachel mentioned that this was her on-ramp into iZotope. And that's a pretty common thing for a lot of the people that enter customer care. For customer care, again, you really need to have a problem-solving mindset. So you really need to know how to kind of help diagnose problems and have empathy and desire to help others and focus on the success of the customer. So you want them to walk away with a positive experience and with their problem solved and with them kind of learning something about how to use our products. Like I said, it is a launching pad. I tapped each of the directors in each of these areas to get some of these points to share with you. And the director of customer care did point out that, sometimes people who really want to just be in the music industry and kind of be a producer or whatever, maybe going through iZotope and even if you enter via customer care, they might not be the best skill set. So, we're really focused on product development and kind of building products and solutions for to get their jobs done. And so that's really one of the things that he looks for on that team. But we're happy to answer any questions about these. So we have one more slide to wrap up. And I think, Emma, you were going to take this one.
I was going to take that one.
Sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So if you want to get a job with iZotope, just take initiative, be curious and learn, be adaptable, be open-minded and ask questions, get stuff done, network and meet people, make music and share music, and really just work on creating a diverse and awesome portfolio that you're super proud of, no matter what field you're applying for.
So I think that's what we had. I mean, I think this, I like the slide because it really kind of summarizes more the cultural aspects of what we look for people that are really good fit for iZotope. And I realize I had my video off this whole time. I apologize about that. But I think we're ready to take some questions.
That's great because we're running out of time. So we're going to try and cram all these in. The first question we had was, and I think I'm going to reframe it a little bit, like what are the entry level opportunities? What's the best point of entry, with entry level skills, I guess? Yeah,
that's a good question. As I mentioned, customer care is a great way to enter the company. Our quality assurance team is another great way. And Emma talked about this a little bit. We have more of the test automation, which require more hands-on technical skills. But for the manual testers, we're looking for people who, have a music production background and know how to use our products and know how to make music with our products. So that's a great on-ramp into the company. I don't know, Emma or Rachel, do you have any other suggestions?
That's what I'd recommend as well.
Okay.
Somebody's asking, what education level are the members of your technical research team? Are there undergrads or all master's, PhDs?
On the research team, most of them are master's and PhD students. In fact, I think the majority of them are PhDs, but that's not necessarily a prerequisite.
Let's see. They're wondering if there is training once you are hired in each of these areas.
Sure. So we do something similar to to Sweetwater, where we have what we call iZotope, and some of it is something that everybody goes through. So Mark actually sits down and kind of talks you through the history of the company and the kind of the future direction. And then obviously there's kind of the HR piece of that. And then each team has its own custom training depending on the, so our team, we set you up with a buddy and kind of have a series of training things that you go through to kind of get up to speed. So you have a pretty solid support system as you enter.
To add on to that as well, customer care is amazing for this, but they often try really hard to get the customer care agents mentored by people across the company. So while I was there, I worked with graphic design, I worked with sound design and product management just to kind of try out different skills and get myself in front of other departments. So that's something we definitely encourage at iZotope.
I have a few questions here on software development in terms of what degree is required, or what are you looking for?
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead?
I think that all of us have at least an undergraduate degree of some kind, usually in software or computer science. I suppose it certainly would be possible if someone did not go that path but had a very thorough portfolio that showed they had the skills needed, that would be acceptable, but I think all of us do have degrees. Lisa could probably add more.
There's a little bit of development also on the web side of the house, so the people that actually own and build and maintain the website, and so that's a different skill set than what we require. And again, I think there's probably flexibility in what the training is, or whether they actually have degrees or not.
We have the question about international employees again. Do you have any?
Yeah, we do. So in fact, we just hired 2 developers on our team who are in Berlin, and they're actually living in Berlin and working out of the Berlin office. Other than that, we have quite a few marketing and sales people throughout the world, and we're definitely looking to expand more.
A lot of people asking about remote work. Do you have any remote positions?
As we know, we're all working remotely right now, so this is kind of really testing this out. We do have a few remote people. In fact, my manager, who's our CTO, works out of New York. For the most part, I think it's better to at least be able to partially interact directly with people, because we're such a collaborative culture, and this not just with the people you work side by side with, but they're across functions in the company. But I think, like I said, I think the world we're living in right now is really going to test some of those assumptions. So I wouldn't be surprised if we loosen up some of that in the future.
Is English the dominant language of the international offices as well?
That's a good question. I don't know if I know the answer to that. I suspect in Japan they speak Japanese, although they also speak English. And everybody that I know, every iZotope employee that I know also speaks English. I can't speak to what the dominant language in the remote offices is.
I'm fairly certain the remote offices in Berlin, they all speak German, and in Japan, they speak Japanese.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Great. Well, we have about time for one more question, but they're coming now. Of course, they're all coming in quickly. Okay, somebody answered that one already. I can answer this one for you. Company culture inclusive when it comes to women and gender nonconforming folks. I've been there. It totally is. So
yes,
yes.
More than, maybe what I would like to say, having been to iZotope in the offices and multiple times, what I found really unique is access to everyone. Like Mark, you have the CEO like responding directly to my emails, or and similar to Sweetwater as well, to Chuck. So I think for both companies, you're looking at very unique companies where they're top down, very responsive and inclusive and welcoming. And I can remember walking in with our crew to iZotope, and you guys were having an all company meeting, and we were doing our conference there. And so we were kind of totally in the way of your like not cafeteria, but your lunch area, your meal area. And Mark just fed us all, you know, like sit down and eat with us. So yeah, that's when I was like, okay, I would totally work here.
Yeah, well, just to give you another example, so we do these Friday meetings every Friday, like at noon, and this is an example again of Mark's transparency. And if we're in the building, then they bring lunch in every Friday. At the end of this meeting, the last thing that Mark always says is, hey, does anybody have any gigs coming up, or have they published any new music that they want to share with everybody? So that kind of speaks to the, you know, just kind of the nature and the culture of the company.